zoning hearing board for Radnor Township. And we're going to go a little bit out of order. First, the appeal number 3233 has been continued to the March hearing. And we're going to call the appeal number 3255, applicant Gallagher Trail Holding Company LP, property listed as 110 Gallagher Road and Zone C2 Commercial. Applicant seeks relief from Section 280-103 of the Code regarding off-street parking. Code requires 42 spaces. The applicant would like to reduce that by 8 spaces. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't see. Yeah, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We should elect, appoint the chair or vice chair. We should do all that.
Should we do that first?
Yeah, we should do that first.
All right. Okay, so the board was not able to have its organizational meeting, which is a meeting that's required by the municipality's planning code because of the snowstorm. So we had to do it just prior to the start of tonight's meeting. And so the chairman has been reappointed for another year. Vice chairman is John Nagel. He's been reappointed for another year. Our solicitor, Gus Economy has been appointed for another year. And I do think that's about all of our business. Same rules and procedures as before. We haven't changed anything in that regard. So having said that, we're ready for appeal number 3255.
Thank you very much. That's good to see everyone. Happy New Year. David Falcone here on behalf of the applicant Gallagher Trail Holding Company LP, who is the owner of the property at 110 Gallagher Road. We are seeking a variance tonight with respect to parking at the property. It is an existing, a non-conforming condition. The parking at the site is not being amended in any way, and no new construction is being proposed as a result of this application. Instead, we have a situation where a new tenant is being brought to the site to fill a space which has been vacant for a couple of years and actively marketed for lease. And that tenant is a spa service, which is indoor recreation under the code, and the code would require a certain number of spaces on site, 42 total, when the property only has 34. Again, this is space that has been historically leased for a various number of uses over the years. The owner has owned the property for nearly 20 years, Gallagher Trail Holding Company. It has been an office, it's been medical, various uses, and again, in this instance, it's being proposed for indoor recreation. The zoning district is the C2, and we had reached out to the zoning officer for determination on the number of spaces that are required on site based on the mix of uses, and it was based on that zoning officer's determination that there is a requirement of 42 spaces. And again, we have 34 today, and we'll have 34 after this application. We've marked a number of exhibits for you, which I believe will help explain the situation. A1 is our zoning hearing board application. A2 is the deed to the property to Gallagher Trail Holding Company. A3 is a copy of the actual lease agreement with the proposed tenant. A4 is a survey showing the site as it exists today. A5 is an aerial photograph. A6 is a photo array showing various times for parking. And A7 is the Pilates studio schedule. A7 being included specifically because this use will dovetail as far as times go with the Pilates studio. So unlike some of the other uses we've had on site, this will actually complement some of the existing uses and put even less of a traffic burden, and a parking burden on the site. So Mr. Holloway was supposed to be here this evening, but I can offer some testimony in his stead, and hopefully he will roll in. Basically, the testimony will be as to ownership and historical data at the site. So Gallagher Trail has owned the property since March of 2007. During that entire ownership, there have been 6 units on site.
How many units?
6 total units on site, 4 units in Building 1 and then 2 units in Building 2. This is a second floor Building 2 user. The space has been vacant since March of 2024, and Mr. Holloway, through his real estate company, has been actively marketing the space, and this is the first tenant that they've been able to land for this space. The approximate size is 1,300 rentable square feet, usable square feet, and that tenant, again, is Sal Spas, and a copy of that redacted lease is in your packet. So that lease is now contingent upon receipt of this variance from the township. That tenant actually approached the township for a use permit, which ultimately began this discussion. We thought the matter was a pre-existing non-conforming condition. The other uses currently on the property today are office, medical office, and indoor recreation. In each of those instances, the property has remained exactly as shown on Exhibit A5. I think that's, let's turn to A5 today, right now. What you're looking at in A5 is Gallagher Road to the right. You see 110 Gallagher Road with the identification dot in the middle of the exhibit. To the right, you have Gallagher Road, and that property to the left is the 2 separate units. Again, one with the arrow in the middle, 110 Gallagher Road, with the Pilates and More designation, and then the Wayne Foot Orthodontics building to the left, that is Unit 2. That would be the second property. You can see all of the parking spaces that are marked on site. They exist today, and none of those will come offline as a result of this application. The longest tenant at the property is C.F. Holloway himself. He's been a user-occupier of that property since before his ownership. He's familiar with the uses and the interplay between them and when parking is available. He's there every day, and at no time is there ever a lack of parking available. I should also note that along Gallagher Road is available public parking that is seldom used as well. Prior to the current use at Suite 6, which is the subject tenant, the use was office. The other uses on site in Suites 1 and 2 are C.F. Holloway III. That's approximately 1,400 square feet of office, and the code requires 1 per every 200 square feet. They've been there, again, about 35 years. Suite 3 is Bud's LLC. That's also an office, approximately 800 square feet. Ordinance, again, requiring 1 every 200 square feet. They've been there for about 5 years, and their lease has another 5 years remaining. Suite 4 is Pilates and More. That's an indoor recreation, which is, again, why we have the timing for that use. That's approximately 1,800 square feet, and they've been there 17 years. Suite 5 is an orthodontist, Catherine Foote. She's approximately 1,790 square feet. That is a dental use, requires 1 for every 150 square feet, as well as additional per the dental chairs, and that use has 5 dental chairs. She's been there approximately 12 years. Suite 6 would be the new tenant. We've already noted there's 34 spaces on site. The current condition is non-conforming. Based on the new mix of uses, the requirement would be 42. I'll turn you now to the last exhibit in our packet, which is Exhibit A7. This is the Pilates and More class schedule. You can see that there are gaps during the middle of the day for this. The other users on site are Dr. Foote. Her hours are 7 to 5 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And again, for Pilates Studio and Dr. Foote, these would align kind of well with what we're proposing for the current tenant. The office users are Monday to Friday, as would be a standard office use. I'm just trying to confirm here. So Mr. Holloway's here. If I could just have him sworn, this would be the one area where I could use his testimony.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? And state your full name.
Kaz, we were just walking through the different uses, so the last piece that I want to explain for the board is how the interplay of the uses will work to your benefit. Are you able to speak to when the proposed tenant is anticipating operating on site?
Yes, the tenant has 1 month to put in their equipment and everything on March 1st, and then they'll start their business on April 1st.
The hours and days that they anticipate to operate?
They're going to work Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. in the morning to 8 a.m. in the evening.
8 p.m.?
I'm sorry, 8 p.m. And they will be Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
And how does that align with the current users on site and work to not overlap with respect to parking?
Currently, there are 2 units that are office use. Those 2 offices are open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There is a Pilates studio, which is the indoor recreation use, is similar to the spa. Their hours are Monday through Friday. They operate till 8 p.m., I think, in the morning. Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're open from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. With intermediate work. But on Mondays, Wednesdays, they are open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., Wednesday 9:30 to 6, and Friday 9:30 to 11:30.
And the exhibit you're looking at there, A7, actually identifies classes that are offered at certain times during those days, not active uses continuously. So for example, on Tuesday, you would have a 9:30 class, and then the only other class offered on Tuesdays would be at 6 p.m. There'd be no uses in between.
That's correct. That's correct. And Saturday, they have 8:30 a.m. advance, and then a class at 9:30 a.m., all levels. They do offer Sunday, as I understand it, by appointment only.
And so this is all, Mr. Holloway, just to identify that the uses that are being proposed, for example, the Pilates studio is not an all-day vigorous use that brings traffic constantly. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then you've been at the property, I noted, you've owned and operated at the property for 20 years, approximately.
Yes.
And during that time, you've seen different tenants come and go, but during full occupancy periods, has there ever been a situation where the property has not had adequate parking?
We've never had a complaint from any of the tenants.
And so, in your estimation, I've noted that you've marketed the property for 2 years. This is the tenant that you have to fill that space. And do you believe that by bringing this tenant on and the parking condition as it exists today, will this tenant make that condition any worse?
No, actually, we believe it'll help the parking because the spa, it will be open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. as I stated during the week, and on the weekends, of course, from 10 to 5. Those uses are different than the previous tenant that we had for 4 years. That was a decorator. They were open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. They were not open on the weekends. The only Pilates studio and the SAO spa will be open on weekends. So they have the entire 34 parking spaces to themselves.
Great.
During that time.
And you've had an opportunity to discuss this application with your only adjoining neighbor, is that correct?
Yes, at
And that's Mr.
512.
Diorio?
Yes.
And he's at 512 West Lancaster Avenue?
Yes, he is.
And he advised there was no objection and stated you could state that for the record to the board, is that correct?
That's correct.
And this is the minimum relief that you believe is necessary to satisfy this tenant?
Yes.
No other questions for Mr. Holloway, and I have no further testimony to offer.
question.
Yeah.
Can you explain what the use is? What do you mean by spa?
That's my understanding, our tenant just gives facial massages and massages. It's not technically a spa, a full-service spa. It's therapeutic in nature, and they the classification for recreation, indoor recreation, was we were told by the township that that's what it classified, as is the Pilates studio. So those two uses are considered indoor recreation.
So the spa wouldn't be considered personal care? And if it was, I understand where you're getting your information, but if it was personal care, would that have affected, how would that have impacted the number of spaces needed, more or less?
So I think.
If you know.
I don't know, but we were looking at it versus kind of maybe a medical type use, and that we have on site, and that's the 1 per 200, and then per, I guess, table or
Oh, no, that's one for 150.
150.
Yes.
And then you have additional for rooms and tables and things. So I think in the end, it all ends up being within 1 or 2 parking spaces,
I
give or
understand.
take.
Okay, last question,
Yeah.
hopefully. I wanted to look at I think it's A3.
Yep.
The lease.
Yes.
The last page shows the plan of premises. Are you able to comment on how many customers the spa would see during any given time? Because I see a number of sinks, and now that I understand it's for facials and such, now it makes sense to me why there's laundry facility and sinks.
This was fit out initially for Dr. Lou, is that
Yeah,
right?
we had this space when we did all the renovations in 2007, when we purchased the property. I've been a tenant of the property for 35 years, and then we bought it from the previous owner. When that owner had 2 dentist offices when we first moved in. When we did the rear building, which is the 2 units 5 and 6, we rented it to a dentist, fitted it all out for the dental offices, which is the same uses today. But we also fitted out the upstairs because he expressed an interest to expand. He was there 5 years. He did expand, but he bought his own building. And then Dr. Foote moved into the space. So it was never used as a dental office, which would have required more spaces, parking spaces.
So let me adjust my question.
Yes.
Is the plan of the premises, is this what the spa will use, or this is how it's existing and then they're going to modify?
That is what it was when it was an office space, yes, yes. And they have, the conference room is a waiting room now, okay? And the 4 offices that are on the stair side are where they have tables, and they have 1 table adjacent to the bathroom, that 1 office. Okay. And then it's a kitchen and the washer dryer in what was the other space.
Okay, so then this is probably my last question. Can you provide any comment or discussion on how does this business operate? Is it 3 appointments per hour? Is it 6 appointments per hour? How long do the facial sessions last, and how many people are going to be rolling through on a 9 to 5?
I can't answer that question exactly. What I've been told by the owner, that they could have up to 5 facial therapists. They did tell me that their busy times are late afternoon into the evening, even though they're open from 10 to 5 during the day. Their busy times is in the afternoon. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does, although not quite. And do you know how many, I don't even know what to call it, at the Pilates studio, how many people come to exercise during these classes? Do you know, are they capped, the number of participants capped during those class sessions?
I can't say because I'm not in there every day, but I would say, judging from the number of cars that are outside during the day, maybe 4 to 5. They park their cars right in adjacent to the Pilates studio, and I think there's a total of 7 spaces that are around that building, and during the day there might be 4 or 5. But when they only have classes, it's only the number of classes. So it's, as I said before, we've never had a complaint on the amount of parking. And that included when we were fully occupied with the office building working all day long.
Thank you.
I have a question, Ms. Holloway.
Yes.
Have there been any, since your time of owning this property, have there been any changes or modifications to the parking, like any decrease in the parking that's occurred, or has it always been the same layout, same structure?
It's always been the same layout. That was, we did an Alta survey when we purchased the property. There was a garage into the rear building. If you look on the survey, you'll see that that was parking area. That's now planning area. So we did make some adjustments to the impervious coverage, but we have not made any changes since we took ownership of the property in 2007, 2008.
Okay. And are there any existing parking difficulties or issues, either on-site or on the street on Gallagher Road?
There's none that I'm aware of on our property, and the Gallagher, as you know, other than our building and our neighbor's building at 512, there are no buildings on the trail side. There's full parking all the way down. And what's interesting, if you look at our survey, we have 266 lineal feet of curbing area, of which there's 2 20-foot curb cuts for the entrance and exit from our parking lot. So just in front of our own property on Gallagher, we have enough for 10 cars off-site.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Public comment?
Kevin Haynes, 378 Morris Road.
Swear you in first?
Oh, sure.
And you'll spell your name. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And state your name and then spell it.
Kevin Haynes, Haynes. No objections to the tenant and stuff. I just want to make sure that people do realize that there is a tremendous amount of trail parking on Gallagher Road. Many people do park on the Gallagher Road. So if you do happen to get to a point where there's lots of facial appointments, a class going on, and I think a bunch of people picking up their dogs or whatnot, there might be increased traffic, or the point where you may get to a point, especially with that higher turnover based on the total number of employees, total number of customers, if there was a class going on, and if the trail was in heavy use, typically in those afternoon hours. Just wanted to make that point.
Any other public comment?
No, I didn't know if there was anything else. If there's no more questions for us, then I would ask that our exhibits A1 through A7 be moved into the record, please.
Admitted without objection. Any board discussion?
I'd make a motion, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I would make a motion that we grant the relief for a variance related to off-street parking on the basis of the testimony and exhibits presented.
I'll second that. Let me
So-
call, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. So I'm a little frustrated. There's some questions. I'm gonna vote in favor of this, but I'm a little frustrated at the evidence. I would have liked to have known how many employees. I would have liked to have known how many customers were coming through at any one given time, in order to get a better feel of how many of those parking spaces are gonna be used. But given the testimony and the history of the building, it sounds like changing from what was, I guess, a podiatrist's office to this spa-like service should not drastically impact to the negative. So I'll be voting in favor, but just for the record, I would have liked a little bit more.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I guess the concerns about the off-street parking, I feel like that's kind of not necessarily relevant to the issue of the on-street parking or of the parking lot. So I agree, it seems like the parking lot is going to suffice. So I appreciate the concern of the trail, because we all love the trail, but I think the parking lot will.
Yeah, I have some concerns that there wasn't a little bit more information on those points. However, I think we do have to take into consideration that it's a business enterprise, and if people are not there's alternatives to all of these services, and if they're not getting the parking, if parking becomes a pain, they'll vote with their cars and go elsewhere. And I don't think that's something that I think it's something you've probably taken into consideration, and you've lived with this place for quite some time and have some sense of the rhythm and the flow of traffic, and that's what we're relying upon, and why I will be voting to support the motion. Any other comments?
So I'll just state that, given the unique configuration of this lot, it is a constrained lot here, and it is ultimately a business enterprise here, and I'm not trying to stand in the way of the operation of a commercial property like this either. So I agree, some more information, more facts presented would have been nice, but ultimately, I don't really see an issue here.
Well, let me call the vote.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
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 Okay, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the on the agenda, I guess I should eat before I come here, is Appeal 3252. The applicant is Wayne Property Acquisition, property located at 302-306 East Lancaster Avenue, and Zone C2 Commercial. Applicant received final land development approval for the construction of a convenience store with associated sale of gas. In addition, of a condition of the approval was that the applicant make application to the zoning hearing board to install an 8-foot shadow box fence along the residential property line to enclose the trash enclosure with masonry block matching the building. As a result, the applicant seeks a variance from section 280-109A of the code to construct a fence wall higher than 6 feet. Applicant further seeks a variance or such other necessary relief from the following provisions of Article 21, Section 280-118 et al. Et sec. Relating to signs, Section 280-122C2, sign area and height of wall signs, Section 280-122C 5A2 and B, and 280-122 6B 1 and 2, sign area and content of freestanding signs, Section 280-122C9, and height of signage, instructional signs, and gas pumps. It notes that the Design Review Board has approved the application as presented to it by the applicant, and the applicant also requests such other relief which may be required in conformity with the exhibits and testimony presented.
Evening, Nick Cornelia, representing the applicant on this matter. I'll go through each request. Most of it is regarding signage, so I'll go through each request and explain to the board what the relief is being sought and why it's being sought. We'll have two witnesses to present. We'll have Eric Britz, who's been the engineer on the project, and Mike Spiegel from Wawa also will be testifying. As was mentioned during the opening and the reading of the application, I think everyone's aware this was extensive litigation. This started back in 2018. It proceeded through all the way up through all the courts, eventually was approved. This is just dealing with the signage. As part of the final plan approval, the applicant agreed to two conditions. One, that an 8-foot shadow box fence be installed, provided it is approved by the zoning hearing board, and also that a trash enclosure enclosing the trash bins be installed also consistent with the building. And you'll see that it's very consistent. It's the brick and stone that is consistent throughout that area is what the enclosure is. The dilemma here actually is regarding the sign ordinance itself. You have one part of that sign ordinance references retail, which we have a retail store. Another part of the sign ordinance references a gasoline service station. And we have a gasoline station that has pumps. So again, I'm going to go through each one, and I'm going to hand out, there's some additional exhibits that I made part of this, and most of them are just existing photos and some other plans that were presented to the Board of Commissioners. But also the last exhibit in this is A16, which is revised sign analysis of what we're asking for. And as an opening, I'll go through each one, and then we'll have testimony on each one too. So this way, at least you have a preview of what we're requesting. So these are exhibits A9 through A16. I'm not certain if you have A9 and A10 in your packet or not, but I've included it in here. I know I handed them in previously, but I don't know if they made it in your packet. So I'm just going to hand up. These are additional exhibits. So you should have at least A1 through A8. A8 is the actual sign package that we'll reference, a good deal here this evening. And then A9 through A16 are additional exhibits. And I would ask you at the very end of this is A16, which is a chart, and I'm going to go over that right now just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with.
Good evening to the board, and just while there's a quick break, I'd like to introduce myself and enter my appearance on behalf of Radnor Township. My name is David Keatley Jr. here from the Solicitor's Office. We've been directed to oppose the application tonight.
So as I mentioned, the issue to some extent is the code, but looking at A16, actually the site complies with the total sign area for the entire site. And that is just showing that we do comply with that requirement. And actually, we have revised the plans since you've seen it, the signage package. And we'll go over what some signs have been removed, a sign has been lowered. So we've attempted to do as much as we can as far as the sign package and eliminate the need for variance requests. The monument sign, currently there's two monument signs on the site. There's two gasoline stations, and then you have a monument sign actually across the street for the Sunoco and 7-Eleven. The retail ordinance says you can only have a monument sign that's 30 square feet. The gasoline ordinance says you give a monument sign 50 square feet, 20 of which has to be pricing. You will hear testimony that the pricing is a federal requirement that has to appear. So the dilemma again is between retail or gas, and if we apply the gas ordinance to it, we do comply with the 50 square feet. There was an issue regarding the coping around it, which is a protective coping that you'll see. And In case that has to be included, we're at 55. But I believe the zoning ordinance is clear that the actual bracketing around the sign is not to be included in your determination of sign area. It's really the sign area and the face of the sign itself. The next issue is wall signs. So initially, there were 3 wall signs on the site. We have removed one of them. We met with the township, obviously, and decided that one could be removed. That's the wall sign facing north on the site. That has been removed, which now reduces the wall signage to 50 square feet on each road, on each highway. Remember, this is a corner lot. You front on Lancaster and you front on Aberdeen. We now have our wall signs are 50 feet facing Lancaster to the east, 50 feet, less than 50 feet on both facing Aberdeen to the west. The western wall sign does exceed the height requirement. The height requirement in the township is 15 feet to the top. I believe that we're approximately 21 feet from ground level, but again, we'll present testimony on that. But the point is that we do comply, if you're looking at frontage on East Street, 50 on one, 50 on the other. The question is it, and if you look at the ordinance, it's not clear, is it a total of 50 for the entire site, or is it 50 for each frontage? I'll just read the ordinance to you for wall signs. The total sign area of all wall signs placed on any one premises shall not exceed 2 square feet for the first 15 feet of building frontage, plus 1 square foot of sign area for each additional foot of building frontage, up to a max of 50 square feet. No wall sign shall exceed a height of 15 feet. And when a building has frontage on more than one street, the sign area of all wall signs along each street shall be limited by the amount of frontage along that street. So we have a max of 50 on Lancaster, allowed a max of 50 on Lancaster, and our position is we're allowed a max of 50 on each street, and we comply with that. We have less than 50 on each street. The next is the wall sign height, as I mentioned. The one wall sign we'll talk about the structural integrity of the building and why that wall sign is actually higher than 15 feet. Mike Spiegel from Wawa will explain that. Then the pump islands. The code specifically mentions that pump islands are exempt. So as you know, you have to have pricing on the pumps. We have a Wawa, then we have a Goose, on the pump. And then we have an area above the pump, and you'll see actually across the street has the same thing, that indicates what pump number it is, which you also need to have, is what pump number is going to be. So we believe we comply with that, but again, that's up to the board to decide. The next one's instructional sign, and that's the number of the pump. The township is treating that as an instructional sign. Directional signs we comply with. And if you look at the chart, we talk about the fence, that we need a variance for fence height because 6 feet is permitted, 8 feet is being proposed, and we also need a variance for the wall around the trash enclosure, and we'll show you photos of that as well, which would be 9 feet in height, matching the building, whereas 8 feet, or 6 feet actually is permitted. So we're going to have 2 witnesses. Eric Britz, the engineer, from Bowler, will be the first witness.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
And state your full name, please.
It's Eric Britz, B-R-I-T-Z. It's Eric with a C.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to need the overhead when we get a chance. So, Eric, what's your profession?
I'm a engineer, civil engineer,
And by whom are you employed?
Bowler Engineering.
And how long you've been employed by Bowler?
Over 25 years.
Are you a registered Pennsylvania engineer?
I am.
And how long?
Since 2007.
Okay. Are you the project engineer for this development?
I am.
And you went through the whole land development process. You've been involved in this from the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. And the project involves a retail store, the Wawa retail store, as well as the gas pumps, is that correct?
Yes.
And just, we're going to show a plan, but the gas pumps are located in what portion of the site?
They are on the Aberdeen Road side of the site,
And,
across from the 7-Eleven.
and the retail store is,
And the retail store is on the on the Verizon store side, or the east side of the site, across from the Wells Fargo.
and you first filed land development plans back in August of 2018, right?
Yes.
Okay. And obviously, there's been extensive litigation, I think, as everyone's aware, right?
Yes.
Eventually, though, we did proceed to the township and received final land development approval, correct?
We did.
Okay. I'm going to show you just a couple exhibits. 1A2, the deed to the property. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show A3 and A4, and these are aerials. And if you can just explain where, I think everyone knows, I don't know how much we have to go into this, but if you can, for the record, show where the properties are being developed, where they are located.
Sure.
And you're going to need that, I think.
Sure. In A3, what you're looking at is Lancaster Ave running from basically 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and Aberdeen Avenue running from 7 o'clock to 2 o'clock. The site in question is in the upper quadrant of the image. You'll see the blue trimmed canopy, and the Sunoco station is part of the property, and then the green trimmed canopy with the building behind it is the east end of the property.
And just know that the western end of the property, that's a existing Sunoco gas service station.
It is.
And the western property is also a gas station and a car wash.
That's right. There's 2 gas stations on the site with auto repair and a car wash.
And then across the street, what is across the street?
Directly across the street along Aberdeen is a 7-Eleven gas station with a canopy. And then behind or next to that is a Wells Fargo bank. The 2 of those are directly across the street from our site.
And eventually, as I mentioned, we received final resolution from the Board of Commissioners for final land development.
Yes.
And I'm going to show you A5. And is that the resolution that we received?
Yes.
Okay, and just in particular, because we're asking for relief here, can you read condition number 3 into the record so that the board's aware of why we're here, at least for the fence and the trash enclosure?
Sure. Condition number 3 states, excuse me, the applicant shall install a shadow box fence. Sorry. The applicant shall install a shadow box fence 8 feet in height along the entire southern border of the property, subject to approval by the Radnor Township Zoning Hearing Board. The applicant shall also enclose the entire trash enclosure with masonry block matching the building.
So I'm going to show you what's been marked as A11. And this kind of shows the buildings and the landscape plan for the site.
Yes.
And we have 2 street frontages, one on Aberdeen and one on Lancaster.
That's correct. Along the top of the page is Lancaster Avenue, and along the left side of the page is Aberdeen.
And as you mentioned before, the gas canopy is located where on the plan?
It's on the west side of the site, closest to Aberdeen Avenue.
And the retail store?
It's on the east side of the site, furthest from Aberdeen Avenue, closer to the Verizon store.
How many curb cuts do you have on the site?
There's only 2 curb cuts proposed, 1 on each frontage. There used to be, 6 curb cuts, 2 along Aberdeen and 4 along Lancaster Avenue. We've reduced it to 1 curb cut on each frontage.
Can you explain the site lighting?
Sure. The site lighting is it's all LED. It's been improved from what it is today. Today it's the old metal halide lighting. That's all being removed, putting in LED lighting. It's essentially the equivalent of full cutoff fixtures, basically meaning that there's no uplight coming from the light.
How about the canopy?
The canopy is actually unique. When the project started out as Wawa's typical sloped canopy. It was since going through the process, Wawa had agreed to do an A-frame canopy and even further modified it by putting end caps on each of the ends of the A-frame. And that was really in an effort, one, for the look of it, and two, also to help further shield the lighting fixtures, making them more of a cutoff. Basically, all the lights are recessed up above the end caps.
And the lighting plan was approved by the township during the land development process?
It was.
And is there any spillage in the residential area from the lighting?
No. The photometrics show that there's 0 foot candles at the residential properties.
Looking at A11, could you explain the buffering and where the fence would be located on this site?
Sure. So, looking at the southern portion of the site, you'll see a bunch of circles in there. Basically, on the development side of those circles, because it's a small plan, but there's a fence that runs along, basically just behind the parking, and runs from property line to property line. On the residential side of that fence, there are 32 green giant arborvitaes proposed. There are basically this shoulder row of trees that are along the property line. They are proposed to be 8 foot tall. They grow about 3 to 5 feet a year with a maximum height, generally from 20 to 30 feet, as packed as they are, but they can grow to 40 to 50 feet in height. Intermixed within those trees, the buffer of the arborvitaes, you have 5 Washington hawthorn canopy trees. So these are deciduous trees. You also and they grow a max of 20 to 30 feet as well. You have 39 shrubs at the base of the trees as well. Also, on the development side of the fence, you'll see some circles up there, up in here, and on this side. And that includes 4 thornless honey locusts, and they're on the east side. I'm sorry, on the west side, on the canopy side. You got 3 round-lobed seedless sweet gum trees. They're also on the canopy side. You have 6 shadow shade blow serviceberry trees, also ornamental tree. They generally, they're a little smaller. They're ornamentals. They run 10 to 20 feet. And the 1 Japanese flowering cherry, an ornamental that grows to 15 to 25 feet in height.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been marked as A12. And actually, there's been one modification because one of these signs has been removed, and it's the top left one. But again, I believe we're showing this just to show the facade of the building. Can you explain the facade of the building, where that came from, how you arrived at that?
Sure. The prototypical building is generally, it's stone, and above that, where you see the brick, is stucco. We've changed that to a brick facade, really to accent the Wayne district that's surrounding us. There's a lot of brick in the area across the street, both sides of the street. So we wanted to, in coordination with the board, when we were going through land development, we agreed to switch this over to the brick.
And how about the stone?
The stone was actually modified from the normal stone stone face that they normally use to be as similar as possible to that of the church across the street, across Aberdeen.
And this design was approved by the design review board?
It was, yes, it was approved by the design review board.
Now, referencing the trash enclosure, again, I'm going to show you what's been marked as A6, and if you can explain how this represents the look of the trash enclosure.
So in accordance with the resolution, as we mentioned earlier, the requirement was to match the building. So it will have the same stone and the same brick to match the building. It is a little taller than the code only allows it. Is looking at this as like a fence. The code only allows for a 6-foot fence. In order to screen all the equipment inside the trash enclosure, it needs to be 9 feet tall.
And this is screening the dumpsters and the equipment in the enclosure.
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as A7. As you mentioned, the resolution references an 8-foot shadow box fence. And can you tell us what A7 represents?
Yeah, this is basically what the board had requested that we come into the zoning hearing board with back when we were going through land development. It is the fence that I described earlier that runs along from property line to property line along the residential side of the development as requested, as noted in the resolution.
And then there's also buffering. Well, actually, there's trees on both sides of this fence,
There's
right?
trees on both sides. As I had indicated, going in the door with the 8-foot arborvitae, they're going to be as tall as this at planting, so they'll only really see the top of this fence. Those trees grow 3 to 5 feet a year, so you're really not even going to see the fence after a year or so.
Okay, I'm going to show you with A8, and there's a couple sub-exhibits in A8. So referring to A8A, can you tell the board what A8A represents?
So this represents, this is the cover sheet of the sign package. Each of the letters here represent signage that was originally proposed when we submitted the application.
Okay, and actually D that has been removed, correct?
Yes, sign D was removed.
Okay, so let's reference, first, that's the total sign area on the site. What is the permitted, how do they calculate total sign area? We're not talking about wall signs, we're talking about the total sign area all in on the site. How does the township calculate that?
Let me just go back to make this clear. So can I mark
Sure.
this up?
Yeah.
So sign D's been removed. Sign D on the Lancaster Road side. Sign E is not a sign anymore. This used to be a sign. Basically what it is, in the A-frame of the canopy, there's a spanner, a red spanner. Prototype calls for the Wawa lettering to be in white on that red spanner. That Wawa lettering has been removed because that was declared by the zoning officer to be considered a sign. So we took the lettering off. So signs E have been removed and sign D has been removed from the package.
Now, you mentioned something. What's the typical Wawa sign package? And is this typical for Wawa?
No, what we're proposing today is not. Their typical sign package would include, like I said, the lettering on the E for the E's. They would have generally, roughly, the over 50 square foot signs on all 3 sides of the building. They would have lettering and their logo on the directional signs, G.
We've removed that.
We've removed that. And they would typically have a larger monument sign, and potentially even 2. They would maybe have 1 at each entrance.
We're proposing 1 monument sign, right?
We are.
As to the total sign area, is that calculated by your total building frontage on each street?
It is. So on Lancaster, you have conservatively, you have 49.8 linear feet of frontage along Lancaster. I actually believe there's another 6. The way I've calculated it many times in the past, given the vestibule, how it sticks out. If you're standing on Lancaster looking at the building, there's another 6 foot there. We did not count that. So you got 49.8 linear feet conservatively along Lancaster, 91.4 linear feet along Aberdeen. So if you take that, it's a total of 141.2 times 2 is 282.4 square feet permitted by that portion of the code.
And looking at A16, how much, what's the square footage, total square footage on this site?
It was, when we came in with the application, it was 197.25, and we've reduced it to 176.51 square feet.
And allowed is the 282?
And allowed is the 282, yeah.
Now, talking about signs itself, how,
That's 62%, by the way, of what's permitted, based on that provision of the code.
how does the township measure sign area?
It's a rectangular box around whatever your sign lettering is, whatever's included in the sign. It's a single rectangular box, regardless of really what's behind it.
So in this case, the rectangular box is behind both, or around both the goose and the Wawa.
Correct. Where the square footage we're noting is this rectangular box, but in reality, the actual signage is a lot, the actual sign face, the area of that is a lot less than what's being proposed, or what's considered based on the definition of the code.
Okay, let's jump to the monument signs. And you're proposing one monument sign, is that right?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to show you a couple exhibits. First, A13 here, and this is the signage on the existing Sunoco site owned by the applicant.
Yeah, what you're looking in the foreground here is their monument sign with their logo, and in the rear, you see in the backdrop is their monument sign.
And what's the approximate size of that monument sign?
The sign itself, between the brick, is about 50 square feet, and it's well over 8 feet tall.
Looking at A14, where that sign's located on the other part of the site?
Yep.
The car wash part?
Yep.
Again, what's
Yes,
the
sir.
approximate size?
That's also approximately 50 square feet and also exceeds 8 feet in height.
And then A15?
This is the 7-Eleven that's across the street, very similar sign, again, over 50 square feet and over 8 feet tall.
The other thing on the 7-Eleven, it looks like above the gas pumps, they have an instructional sign that is higher than, if they're not exempt, it's higher than what is required.
Absolutely, yes.
Let's refer to the actual monument sign that we have, which is in 8AB. And 8AB represents the monument sign.
It does.
You heard, so what area of the sign is being measured? And I know we mentioned that white coping on the top.
For clarity, can I draw on this as well?
Sure. Mhm.
I'm not a great sketch, so bear with me. So normally, your rectangle would be within these tan lines here, which is less than 50 square feet. What's considered here, I'm going to do this on the left, based on the zoning officer's interpretation. I am a horrible drawer.
But that white
Thank God
coping
for
on the
Cat.
top is what we're talking about.
So it's the white coping. So basically, we're being penalized and need to come in for a variance for the area of the sign because we need to consider the coping and the air behind the coping on either side of the sign.
And that coping, why is that coping there?
That coping is there really just to protect the insides of the sign and really to make it look a little nicer too.
And just, if the board is going to look at the definition of sign area, it specifically states that the sign area excludes any supporting framework and bracing, which are solely incidental to the display itself. So, again, as we mentioned, this sign complies with the 50 square foot requirement, except if you count the coping, then it would exceed it. Also, it complies with the height, it's less than 8 feet, so there should be no issue with the height of that monument sign, is that right?
There should be, with the exception of the zoning officer's interpretation.
No, about height, though.
Oh, with
The height itself.
Yeah, with the height, we do comply. So it's definitely an improvement from that which exists today.
The location of the monument sign, Nick, so just to clarify, you said that, like, on this exhibit 8A8A, no more G.
On the corner, yeah.
G has been excluded, has been removed, and we're just, this monument sign is
Yeah, do we have
letter
monument
A.
sign on
Yes,
there?
Is
this
that
letter
correct?
A.
Just so I'm clear.
Oh, yes,
The
pointed to there,
location
yeah,
is-
Yeah.
it's pointed.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we might want to bring that out a few times, just to be
Yeah.
clear on what's where.
Okay, sure. So why don't we talk about 8AC, which is the west elevation, which is the one facing Aberdeen. So do you want to show
So that would be sign B.
sign B? Okay, on the Wawa. So that is between Aberdeen and the gas canopy.
It's, well, the gas canopy is between it
That's right.
and Aberdeen.
Yeah, excuse me. So 8AC, if you can explain what that represents and how that is determined.
So again, it's, this is the Wawa lettering that's facing Aberdeen. And again, we have to look at the square footage based on a rectangle around the entire package, including the goose in the background. It is 42.82,
Yeah, there it is, on 8AD, 8D.
It's 42.82 square feet, and then going back, I apologize, I'm jumping around. This exhibit shows the height of the sign, the top of the sign, which is the top of the goose, being at 21 foot 8 inches above finished floor. What that is basically it's centered in the building. It's really where it should be, just from a visual aspect. The requirement would have it, the top of the goose to be at 15 feet above the ground, which really doesn't make a whole lot of sense from one aspect, given that the glazing is almost 14 feet from the ground.
And are there structural issues that Mike will discuss?
My understanding is that there's structural issues as well that would prevent it from being lowered. That are within this area, I was shown some architectural drawings that showed the structures that it's affixed to.
And how is that lit?
It's backlit, meaning the Wawa is translucent, and there's lighting. It's like red translucent plastic of sorts or glass, and then there's lights in the background, so it's just red. I think you've all seen these. And then the goose itself is there's a light behind it. So when you look at it, you just see a silhouette of the goose at night, like you would if it was in front of a sun. You know,
I'm sorry,
across the sun.
I have to jump back to the monument sign because there's the no surcharge ATM at PNC Bank.
Yes.
We're asking for relief for that because the definition, if you look, the definition of content of a monument sign, I believe it says name, pricing if you have gas, address, and telephone number. So by putting, I think we all know that there's a free ATM in the Wawa, but put that on the sign, at least according to the Radnor zoning ordinance, you would need relief for that. So we're asking for relief on that as well. I'm sorry, yeah, we asked for relief on that as well.
Correct.
So we talked about the west-facing sign. 8AE is the east elevation. Now, we have modified that sign as well, correct? And if you can tell the board, I guess if you look at 8F, that sign is 28, go ahead, how many?
Yeah, it's 28.19 square feet. That was reduced early on, prior to making this application. In addition, this exhibit shows the sign at 16 foot 1 inch in height. We agreed to lower that down to 15 feet in height. In this particular case, there's not a structural issue. Lower it down to 15 feet to, given it's only a 1 foot difference, to comply with the ordinance from the height standpoint and remove that variance from the application.
And then 8AH, as we said, that has, or 8AG, the north elevation, that sign has been removed.
Yeah, this is the elevation facing Lancaster Avenue, and that sign has been removed, so we don't have to seek relief for that.
Now, referencing, you had mentioned before the gas pump spanner, which is on 8A8I, and we removed the Wawa from that, so we're not asking for any relief on the spanner. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's still kind of shown here as a sign, but it's not a sign. It's just a red stripe.
Yeah, and again, I would mention that if this is a gasoline service station, these signs are exempt. But if it's considered retail, then they're part of what they consider the ground sign. And so, again, abundance of caution, we asked for relief on that. As to the gas pumps themselves, can you explain what's on the gas pumps?
So what's on the gas pumps, it's hard to see. You have a very small goose on the top of the pump, and that measures 0.63 square feet each. And then you have the Wawa lettering on the bottom of the pump, and that measures 1.21 square feet each. There's 6 pumps, and they're on each side of the pump, so there's 12 of each of these. That adds up to 22.1 total square feet. As we talked about, it counts towards the 30 square feet, given we're, as a ground sign, as interpreted by the zoning officer, towards that 30 square foot of retail. Otherwise, it should be exempt. It being now also considered in some interpretations a retail sign, ground sign, it does exceed the 8 foot in height.
And that's the goose exceeds the 8.
That's correct. That's correct. The top of the pump itself is under 8 feet tall, but it stands on a curbed island that brings it just about 8.5 feet. So the goose is within inches of the 8 feet, but technically we're over the 8 feet.
Okay, and then 8AJ, what is 8AJ? What is that there?
So these are little signs that are on next to. You can see these are right next to the pump island. It describes it tells the customer what pump they're at. So they're little circular signs. They are also being counted towards the 30 square feet.
And how about the height?
And the height is it's at 11 foot 3 inches. So where again with the ground sign regulation, if we apply it, we would need a variance for the height.
Looking at our chart, directional signs on 8AK, we're not asking for any relief, and actually remove the Wawa.
That's correct. These were modified specifically for this location to remove the Wawa lettering and shrink the sign a little bit to get it into compliance. And again, these have all been approved by the Design Review Board.
Yeah, and A10, is that the approval of the Design Review Board? I'll show it to you in a second.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
Oh, let me just, A9 has been modified. That's the A16 now. Because this was when we made the application, what the requirements were, but since we've cut it back, A16 now controls it. A10, is that the approval of the Design Review Board?
Yes,
And they approved both the building facade as well as the signage, correct?
that's correct.
That's all I have for Mr. Britz this time.
Thank you.
I have a few questions. Can you walk me through 280-122C2? I think that's the right reference. That deals with the maximum and how it's calculated. You gave a very fast calculation, and I don't know if I
Okay.
understood it, but, so the Lancaster side of the building is 49.8 feet. By my math, you'd be entitled, well, there's no sign on the Lancaster Avenue side now, right?
Well, there's a sign facing Lancaster on the eastern side.
That's not how I understand what this talks about. It talks about the front of the building facing the street. So the east side doesn't face Lancaster Avenue, it faces Verizon, no?
But when you're coming from the east, that's what you see. I'm just saying
If
this-
you're driving westbound
Is
on
that what our
Lancaster,
code says?
that's what you would say. It doesn't say one way or another. What it really says is this is what you're permitted. You have this length, you're permitted this amount of signage, and it says you have this length and you're permitted this amount of signage. So that really hasn't been argued. The zoning officer didn't have a question. As far as
I'm not the zoning officer. I sit on this board.
Okay.
So I'm asking you.
Understood.
Okay.
Understood. So if you read through that section,
So
I
it
think-
talks about when a building has frontage on more than one street, which this one does, the sign area of all wall signs along each street shall be limited to the amount of frontage along that street. So if you're putting it on the east side, I don't see that east side sign is along Lancaster. It's perpendicular to Lancaster Avenue. It's not parallel. I read this to be parallel. So if that's the case, then you're limited to the 50 total, right?
Well, I guess,
And you're seeking.
Mr. Weissman, can I address this really? I
Sure.
guess we're talking legal, analysis here. If you look at the sign area, it meant, again, unfortunately, this sign code was written, I think 1991 was the last revision, it looks like.
Concept of parallel and perpendicular existed when this
Yeah,
was put
right,
in
yeah.
place.
Mhm.
Okay.
And as far as sign area is concerned, it references two street frontages. This is total sign area. Remember, there's a difference between total sign area and wall signs. The total sign area is the whole package that we went through. And then you have the wall signs, and that's the question, are you limited to just 50 square feet on the entire site or 50 square feet on each street frontage? And that's, I think, where your issue comes up is that actually a street frontage located in that area? See,
I guess it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're looking for
yeah, the sign area I don't think is an
42
issue.
and 28, right? About 70 square feet?
Yes,
70 and a
correct,
half
correct,
square
yeah.
feet?
Yeah, the total.
Actually, it's
yeah.
71,
Yeah.
if my math is
The-
right.
the total sign area, I don't think is an issue. The issue is the wall sign area.
Okay. I'm not sure I'm following along. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to make a motion to grant relief.
Right.
I'm inclined to use A8 and go letter by letter, motion by motion.
Oh, I would request that, yes.
Okay.
I would go each relief that we're asking for, and that's kind of why I did that chart, those charts. That's kind of why I did it.
So are you going to want us to then move for sign B separate from sign C? I don't know if we can, if we're talking about a B and C exceeding 50 feet total. So they have to be a package,
If
no?
that's going to be your determination, of course.
Okay. And then, just so that I'm understanding legally then, is it that you're allowed 50 square feet total of all signs? Because we're well in excess of that.
No. Wall signs.
Wall signs.
The issue would be wall signs.
So you need about 20 feet for the wall signs?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. If that determination, we don't necessarily agree with that determination, but that's what the zoning officer stated, that we're limited to 50 square feet. As I said, we feel that we have 50 square feet on each frontage, but I understand your issue.
Okay. So let's look at 8A then. And I just want to go through each of the signs
Sure.
if we can. So for the monument sign, which is letter A,
Correct. The issue there.
What's the actual, so I understand that the component of the sign that gives the price of the gasoline is less than 50 square feet,
Yeah,
right? Did I remember that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. When you add that cap on it, you then exceed the 50 square feet.
Yeah.
Correct.
By how much?
A
the
little over
relief?
5 square feet.
I'm sorry?
A little over 5 square feet.
Is that measurement on here?
Um,
Is there anything that I can look at that tells me what the total number is?
On 8AB, you'll see at the top 55.5 square feet.
so it's 5.5 square feet over.
That's with the capping.
Correct.
Okay.
As I mentioned, I think the code is clear that shouldn't be included, but the zoning officer did say that we had to include it, so that's why we're asking for relief.
Okay. The ATM sign needs some relief because it's
Yes.
extra text.
Yes,
All
yes.
right. For B then, which is the west elevation sign, the square footage proposed of that sign is less than 50, I think I have a note,
That's correct.
42.82 feet. So you don't need relief for the size, but you're looking for relief for the height.
Correct.
Okay. How tall is the goose?
It is at 21 foot 8 inches.
How about the goose itself?
The goose
If
itself.
you remove the goose, where, oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on, you don't respond until Norma comes back.
It doesn't really save much. Ready? Yeah, okay. We may have found our answer while we were waiting, but yeah, go ahead.
17 inches difference, roughly.
Okay, so,
18 inches.
and then what consideration was given to pushing the sign down closer to where the arch is?
Yeah, well, Mike can, from Wawa, we can talk about it now, or if you want, you know.
It's up to you. I just,
My
if he can't
understanding-
answer it, that's fine.
Yeah, my understanding is that there's structural elements that are inside the tower here that it's affixed to, and to try to lower it, that structural element goes away, we wouldn't be able to fix it.
Okay. As a board, we've said no to less than that, just so that everybody's aware.
Understood.
You know, it's the minimum relief. Doesn't matter to me. It's Wawa, it's Giant, it's UPenn. A sign that's just a great ask doesn't work for me. So I am going to want to understand what considerations were made to reduce that need.
Right. I mean, that's why we lowered the other signs, because we were physically
I'm
able
not
to.
talking about the other signs. I'm talking about B.
That sign. Understood.
Okay. The east sign we talked about,
What-
D was removed, correct?
One thing we were able to do to reduce that sign height a little bit was reduce the entire size of the sign. By reducing the size of the sign from the standard sign, it inherently reduced the height a little bit as well.
D is no longer at issue?
We did remove that during discussions with the township. And actually, it was approved by the Design Review Board. I guess the question is now, are we talking 50 feet on each street or 50 feet total? And if it's 50 feet on each street, then this sign would comply at least on the area, not on
The height.
Is it part of our consideration tonight?
It's, I guess if you're gonna determine, we did it at the request of the township, to be perfectly honest. If you're gonna determine that the other sign facing east is not on a street frontage, we would ask you to consider that. And I think the big issue here was the amount of the square footage. So we prefer having the sign, you know, where the entrance is on the east side. But again, you know, if the board was going to say you're limited to 50 square feet on each frontage, then
With all due respect, we're going to be making motions. I just need to know if we're going to be moving for sign D for relief or if it's been removed.
removed.
It's been removed.
It's removed.
Sign E is also removed.
That would be the
The spanner.
the
yeah.
spanner will still be there, but the signage portion, the lettering has been removed.
Yeah, we didn't
Right.
ask for relief on that one.
Understood. Yeah. I didn't make a note so I knew what it was, but right, that's the, along the A-frame of the canopy. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, but
Okay, and
but the
then for
gas
s-
pumps are still there.
Yes, okay. And then for sign F, it sounded to me like there's multiple components of it. But I guess I just want to understand, at the end of the day, the code requires no more than 30 square feet total of all of these signs, is that?
If it's a monument sign, if it's considered a
Retail.
ground sign and retail. Now, in the code, specifically, it mentions under gasoline service stations that the gas pump signs are exempt. So if they're not exempt, then they have to be included
Because we
as
got them
part of
mixed with the
ground sign.
retail. Okay, so if we err on the side of caution and say it's retail, you need some relief.
Correct.
Okay, and is that relief from a total of 30 square feet for every sign?
Is it from all ground?
I'm sorry,
From the
sign
ground
F.
signs.
I'm only talking about F,
Yeah, it would be for ground signs,
ground signs. Okay.
not total sign area. It just would be the ground sign, because remember,
Cumulative ground
Yeah.
signs.
Cumulative.
yeah, on the retail, you're limited to 30 square feet. On the gas, you're limited to 50 square feet, so on ground signs.
Okay, so, but I just want to get the numbers right.
Sure.
So the total of F is 22.1 plus another 11.3. I wrote 11.3, but I don't know what it was referring to.
I have down,
apologize.
instructional signs.
So
And
these are 2 square feet each. There's 12 of them, so they're 24 square feet.
And what are you referring to?
Sign F.
Si-
They're 2 square foot each. There's 12 of them, so they're 24 square feet. If you look at the table, that is the instructional signs on the second page, second line down.
Okay,
so on the instructional signs, we actually comply with the square footage. Again, if we're looking at it from a retail standpoint, but the height is what we would need relief on if we're looking at it from a retail standpoint.
okay.
Looking
So
at
you
from a-
don't need relief then for the square footage, the
Correct.
aggregate of those signs. You need height.
Correct.
Okay, and that's pretty minimal though, right? Just above the 8 feet, if I understood that correctly?
That's it. Those particular ones are 11.
Well, that's to the middle, it's 11.3.
Let me
to the
just
middle.
go back. What relief do you need for signs F? I don't understand it.
Height, height,
So the square footage of the signs was irrelevant?
correct.
Isn't it cumulative including
No, but
the monument
that's an
sign?
instructional sign.
Right, okay. It's not considered a retail ground sign.
No, Kevin Kachansky reviewed my chart, and actually I worked with him to prepare it and saying, what are you saying? What's allowed, what's not allowed, and that's how we arrived at this chart.
Okay, so for sign F, it's height only at a couple inches above 8 feet?
Call it 12 feet. They're 11 foot 3 inches to the center. They're 2 inches higher, so call it 11 and a half feet tall.
But and again, you know, whether this is, well, I think it's relevant, but right across the street, those instructional signs are higher than
And they're
8 feet.
bigger.
I'm having a hard time understanding what you guys need.
You want me to?
I guess the top of the pump then was just slightly above 8 feet. Is that what it was?
Correct.
Correct.
And remember, if you look at the chart, And I keep referring to the chart. 'cause I
Yeah,
think
tell me where I'm looking.
So if you look at
A16?
A16.
Okay. And which block?
So if we're talking about the pump island, that's on page 2, top. Freestanding signs, pump island signs. As I said, the zoning officer determined them, the pump island signs, the actual pump signs, to be part of the ground signs.
Yeah.
And that's, we need relief because we're over the square footage. And also, the height of the goose is slightly over 8
Over
feet.
8 feet. Okay, I think I now understand what my notes were. So the pump signs are a total of about 22 square feet.
That's correct.
Okay. But then the instructional signs are an additional 12 square feet,
24 square feet.
24.
24.
But under the instructional sign ordinance, you're allowed 30. So we're okay with the square footage, but we're over on the height on,
Okay, which letter is the instructional signs on?
they are, that's the
A8.
gas, it is letter F.
So F is,
Mr. Roy, I can.
F is the numbers?
You know what I'll do? Yeah, I know.
Pump numbers?
8AJ, A8J.
Right. It's the pump numbers.
Yes, pump numbers, correct.
So what's the freestanding pump island? Oh, that's the signs on the pumps themselves.
Yeah, he's saying they're freestanding.
You'll forgive me. It's been a long week.
I'll go through.
All right.
You know what, at the end, I'll go through each one again.
I think you're going to need to.
Yeah.
All right.
I know, I've been living this for about 2 months, so that's why I'm like, I know it, you know.
I just have a couple more. On A6, can you show me where the trash enclosure is on A6?
So the actual location where it's built, where it's going to be constructed is here, in the southeast corner.
And that little bump out is,
That's going to be a landscape island full of trees.
thank you.
Yes, in that particular area, if you go back to the landscape plan,
And will there be?
Exhibit A11, you'll see the trash enclosure in the southeast corner, and then you have the bump out with five trees, 4 canopy trees. Actually, yeah, 4 canopy trees and one ornamental tree on the development side of the fence. Then you have the fence. Then you have the arborvitae and another ornamental tree on the corner.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. And then the enclosure itself also acts as screening, right? So.
Is there a particular time of the day when that trash enclosure will be emptied?
That's going to depend on the trash company itself. But it will happen during the day.
I know at the Wawa in Wayne, it seems like every time I pull in there around, you know, there's a trash truck there around lunch or before lunch or morning coffee or whatever. If some of you go in, you think it's, forget the contractor. You want me to call Mike Spiegel from Wawa?
Any questions by the other members of the board for this witness?
I guess we're going to discuss the sign height architectural issue with the other witness.
Yes.
Cool.
Mr. Solicitor, be it all right if I
yes,
ask
sir.
some questions on cross-examination for the township?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mr. it was Mr. Britz, right?
Brits, yes.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So, looks like you already have A11 pulled up. I'm going to refer to that first.
Sure.
I just want to talk about really dimensions of the lot and the layout of the lot of land, or of the site, rather. What are the dimensions, length and width of this overall site area? Do you have that noted on A11 or maybe on the other site plan sheet?
Not on A11, and I did not memorize the dimensions of
Mike,
it.
do you have it on the boards? I know you brought some boards.
I do have some boards. If you let me step away,
I mean, it's really, I guess, not that important for my overall point. It's almost a rectangle. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. There's no steep slopes anywhere on the property, is there?
There are some steep slopes as exist today in the back of the site.
Towards the back where, I guess, the residential district is up against on the south side?
Yes.
Okay. Where exactly are those steep slopes at? If you can kind of just note, I mean, you don't need to draw on your sheet, but.
I believe that, I believe they're along this area of the frontage. It's one of the two sides, I just don't recall.
Which direction does that slope towards?
Towards the residential properties.
Okay, so the Wawa is a bit higher in elevation than the residences are?
Yes.
Okay.
And so would the fence be in that point in the trees. And so would the fence and the trees.
Okay. Is any of the property,
Sorry.
is any of the property in a floodplain?
No,
No water courses or wetlands, it doesn't look like. Is that fair to say?
it is.
There's no water courses, no wetlands?
That's
It is
correct.
fair to say, thank you.
It's fair to say.
And you've already been approved for land development, right?
Yes.
You can meet all the setback requirements, there's enough room for parking, the gas pumps in the building, and so on and so forth?
Yes.
Okay. I want to ask about what is nearby and adjacent. I think we've already heard that there's a couple residences to the south of the property. Do you know how many houses or how many residential properties are to the south?
I believe it's two, technically three, that the southeast corner clips the third property.
Okay.
And then it's retail to the east. It's church across Aberdeen and all retail across Lancaster.
So, like you said, it's maybe two churches across Aberdeen to the west, side by side, I think?
I know there's one directly at the corner. Yes.
Okay. Caddy corner, diagonal to the site, it's a parking lot, some pharmacy buildings, things like that?
Yes, it's all retail.
Okay. And to the east, there's a Verizon building and there's a CVS.
Yes.
A little further east, there's to the west is chocolatier, a water ice store, little retail things like that.
I know there's retail, yes.
Okay. Now, as to Exhibit A7, can you pull up A7? The shadow box fence, how was that arrived at or decided upon as opposed to a more opaque or solid surface fence?
We actually started with a PVC fence, a PVC vinyl fence, and were requested during land development by the board to switch it to a shadow box, 8-foot shadow box.
Okay, but if you're looking kind of straight at a shadow box fence, you're not going to be able to really see through that shadow box fence, right?
That's correct.
But if you're a little bit to the side, one way or another, I think you can see it in A7, you can see through that fence still, right?
You can see some light through that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in the first floor of one of the houses that's right to the south, first of all, there's nothing that separates the property. There's no roadway or anything else really that separates the property from the residential area, is there at this point?
There's no roadway,
Okay.
just the buffer we described earlier, and I know there's a shed back there as well.
So with the arborvitae and the fence, that's the plan for the buffering?
That is.
Okay.
And the trees and the shrubs.
Okay. Now, if you're in the first floor, or even more so the second floor of some of the houses to the south, you're going to be able to see over that 8-foot fence pretty easily, right?
If you're on the first floor, you won't. I mean, you'll be able to, depending on what you're looking at, you'll be able to see over the fence regardless. Depending on what you're looking at, you'll see sky, and if you're on the first floor, right? If you're on the second floor, you might see some things. I didn't analyze the angles completely. I know that the fence in itself is elevated approximately anywhere from 3 to 6 feet, I think it is, from the neighboring property directly on the southwest corner above. So an 8-foot fence works to add 3 to 6 feet. It's 11 to 14 feet above their property line.
Thank you. Now, you mentioned on direct testimony that a certain fence or screening object needed to be at least 9 feet tall to screen from trash. What was that as opposed to this 8-foot fence that you have here?
So that is a masonry structure that's enclosing the trash facilities that are in the trash enclosure.
Okay.
And those facilities they're a little taller to carry all the trash that's in there. So in order to properly screen them, it needs to be 9 foot tall. It being a masonry structure, it can handle that.
Okay. Now, for a shadow box fence, if there's going to be a car that's, I guess, parking in one of these spots or pulling out, it's got to turn one side to the other. Some of the headlights are going to make it through those gaps in the shadow box fence. Is that fair to say?
They could, yeah.
But if it were to be a solid material fence, it's something without these gaps in between each piece of the fence, the headlights would not shine through. Fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. Okay. Keeping in mind, though, that it's not just the fence. You also have the landscaping in there that would further minimize the light there.
Understood. Thank you. Now, was any consideration given to a fence taller than 8 feet, say 10 feet instead, just as an extra measure of protection for the residents?
There was consideration.
And why was that, I guess, decided against in the end?
It was. We were told by the fence company. This just came up the last 2 days, and we've looked at it, and we're told by the fence company that a 10-foot fence would be unsafe.
In what regard?
There'd basically be a wind sail. It could very easily get torn apart by the wind. They're tough to maintain from that aspect, just because it's a solid fence that's 10 feet tall. The PVC fences are flimsy, don't allow wind through them, and they have a tendency to fall over.
So they're more act like a sail than the shadow box fence, is what you're saying, basically?
They probably, yes.
Or wind resistant?
That's my understanding. Again, that was from the fence manufacturer, the fence company that I think we talked to a couple fence companies.
There'd be ways to secure and tighten up that vinyl fence so it's not going to easily blow over in the wind, though, right? Like with other objects of support, whether it's on the ground or...
I'm not a structural engineer or a fence manufacturer, so I'm just going by the word of the fence company that said that their fence, they felt it would be unsafe.
Would a 10-foot shadow box fence be unsafe?
I don't know. That wasn't requested.
Okay. Board's indulgence.
Sure, I'm sorry. I keep moving. My apologies. I'm sorry, sir?
I said board's indulgence. I may be finished with questions for you, sir.
Okay.
Yes, that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you.
Just a couple on redirect. Eric, is there any current stormwater management on the site?
There is.
I mean, currently on the site?
Not today. No, okay. We're proposing stormwater management. It's currently proposed for the project, but there's none today.
Are there any wall signs facing the neighbors?
No.
Also, as to the resolution number 3, does the resolution specifically reference a 8-foot-high shadow box fence?
It specifically references an 8-foot-high shadow box fence.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have for now.
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
And state your full name.
Sure. Michael Spiegel, S-P-I-E-G-E-L.
Mike, what's your profession?
I'm real estate project engineer for Wawa
And how long you've been in that position?
for over 6 years.
And are you familiar with this project?
Very familiar, yes.
Okay. Have you also familiar with the sign package that was presented to the board?
Yes, I am.
Now, is this your typical sign package?
It is not. It is significantly reduced from what we typically see for our fuel stores.
And how about the facade of the building? Is that your typical facade?
It is not. It is upscaled from what our typical fuel stores have that we've been building in the area.
Okay, now, I'm going to reference first the monument sign, which is sign A, which is on A8B, exhibit number A8B. That sign, is there any federal requirements regarding the sale of gasoline, regarding pricing?
Yeah, so in Pennsylvania, we're required to show our pricing digits. It's something that they don't want to have convenience store chains or anybody else hiding our pricing. We want to make sure they want to make sure that consumers can see what the pricing is. So yes, we do have to show them. What we do to comply with this is we show them at our signs by the road frontage. That way people aren't coming into our site and then finding a different price at the pumps themselves.
And is this the minimum size sign that you can install to both advertise the Wawa as well, or let the public know there's a Wawa, as well as the pricing?
It is as small as we get, pretty much.
Go to reference the wall sign, and in particular, I'm going to ask you, we're talking about the west elevation, which is sign B, which is A8C, and there's a sign on that, and in particular, if you can reference the sign that was on the north or on the east side, and what the difference is in height and why you need a sign that high for 8AC, which is the west elevation.
Sure. So for this model of store, the way the store is designed, the sign at the entrance, in this case the entrance facing to the west, which would be considered our main entrance, the Wawa letters are to designate that is the point where people can come into our store. The sign facing the east, which is exhibit A8E as an elephant, that sign there, for similar reasons, is also for an entranceway. So that way customers, when they come into our parking lot, because not all the parking spaces are right at an entrance, it gives a notification of where the customers can enter and exit from the store.
So how about, what is particular about the facade of the store showing the sign on 8AC, sign B?
So the facade in this area where the signage is hanging from is a brick facade. It's different than what our typical facades are, which was mentioned before is like an EFIS stucco product. The support for the sign, and these signs, it's not that these things are made of paper. They're made of metal and aluminum, so they have some weight to them, so they have to be supported in order to be safe, especially since there are customers traveling underneath it. So in order to do that, in this type of a store, there are the supports for that sign structure, which also includes the goose itself. Behind it, in what they call the tower, this structural member that's architectural feature that's to the front of this store, or to this main entrance here facing to the west. That sign, the way it needs to be mounted, it has to be supported from inside that structure. This store itself, the vestibule area, which is in that area of the store, the ceiling there is roughly close to 14 feet. So then above that 14 feet, you also are going to have some HVAC piping, you're going to have some electrical conduits, and a variety of other things. So, and then once you get a little bit above that is where you actually have the structural I-beams, metal stud framing, and so on and so forth in that area. The structure up in the top area, which is where this sign is currently located, is meant and is the ability to support that sign is in that location. Because of, you have the arch window, which has some framing above it, the ceiling height that's within that vestibule, the challenge to try to lower that sign, in our opinion, I think you're going to make it into an unsafe condition because you're moving it away from the structural members of that tower.
referencing the pump signs. Once again, are there, looking at the pump indicator signs, or is there a regulation that's sign F8A8J? Is there also a regulation from the government regarding numbering of pumps and type of gas?
Yeah, so Pennsylvania Labor and Industry requires that the pumps need to have identification, and the reason why is not just for people to, say, hey, I'm filling up on pump number, whatever. It's also for if there's an emergency, that the store associates can operate the emergency stop from within inside the store without having to leave their position. They can see what pump it is that's, there's an issue going on. So these numbers, it's not just for mentioning where the pump is, but it's for emergency reasons. Just in case there is some of that either needs assistance on a particular pump, they can recognize that the pump, and then the store associates can see that from the point within the store. And also, and let me add something too, because I know the height is also an issue here. The reason why these signs are located at the height that they are is if there's vehicles parked in front of those, because if they were at a lower elevation, we felt like vans, Sprint vans, things that can actually fill up at our store, they would be blocking those pump indicators. And so the height that they are is for safety reasons for all different situations, whether it's a car, a pickup truck, a van, whatever it may be that might be filling up.
That's all I have. Go ahead.
Yes, just kind of want to go back to the main sign there. You're talking about the ceiling being, was it 15 feet? If that's 15 feet, is that a foot above the arch, the apex of the arch? Is it 3 feet above the apex of the arch?
I believe, and it's roughly 14 feet, not 15 feet, but it would be, the arch itself is open to the inside, so it's above the arch. There's framing for that arch window above that, so it might be close to 15 or 16 feet, I would say.
And is the ceiling flat, or is that also arched?
Inside the vestibule, it is flat.
Okay. Is there any reason that the steel I-beam support can't be shifted? You were saying the ductwork, the ducting was below that, and the I-beam was above it, and the mounting was for the I-beam. Is there any reason the ductwork can't be pushed above that? It's pretty, you could just run more ducting, right? Is there other limitations?
I would have to say an architectural engineer would have to look at that. I know from our standpoint, I have not seen it done at a Wawa to that degree to bring that sign below a certain point.
How many Wawas have you had that required, or the zoning committees required the sign be below that?
I've worked on probably close to 50 stores, and I've never had that situation come up.
Okay. So this is the first time you were asked to have it below the 15 feet?
This is the first time I've been asked to have that.
Okay. I'm sure Rich has got more questions on this.
So Nick, this is a legal question here. So just, regarding the sign B on the front elevation, or forgive me, the west elevation, sorry, it's getting a little late, but it's okay. But given that the applicant has decided to put this sign here, this is their design, what they typically do, the models for the stores, how does that not, and you're requesting a variance for the height, how does that not become a self-inflicted hardship given that it's the applicant's design? Here, that's one of the questions I've had.
Sure. Do we want to talk about the store and the design of the store?
Absolutely. I mean, I can talk through this particular model of store, and when we say prototype, this store has very much been customized beyond what we normally see for this size store. When we usually have signage for this size store and this layout, which is a fuel store, the amount of signs, the size of the signs, the square footage of the signs is significantly more than here. There's reasons for that. For example, at our pumps and at our canopy, we have signage, the spanners, there's actually a canopy sign that sits on the edge of the roof line. The pumps all show Wawa, and the reason we do that, and our competitor right across the street is a perfect reason why. They have a different operator from their fuel than from their store. The store is a 7-Eleven. The fuel operator is a Sunoco. we want to make sure that our customers understand that it's everything that we have, the fuel and the convenience store is all Wawa. It is all together, and we look at that in a standpoint of that's part of our business. When we start shying away from that, then we're starting to move away from not just our brand, but just from our business and who we are and what we operate. Signage is a big part of any commercial business. This site right here, we understand the area, we understand the concerns of the neighborhood and the concerns of the township. This is why we've reduced our signs significantly, our signage package in height and square footage and the number of signs. Our monument sign at the entrance, usually we have our typical fuel stores is a 20-foot pylon sign. That's our typical fuel stores. So what we've done here to meet, and you've heard a lot of the conversation here earlier, where we've reduced almost every single sign on this store in either square footage and height or outright removed it. And we've kind of tried to do this because we felt like it was important to meet as close as we can to still be able to represent our business in a way that is, as you heard about the pump indicators, a safety concern, or as a indicator of the business that we are, which is an operating convenience store and fuel.
So, and I respect that in keeping things consistent from a marketing and branding standpoint, but really coming to the heart of the legal question versus the marketing branding. It's, if this has been designed, I'm just, just given what we're here to interpret, how is it not a self-inflicted hardship given that it's your design and then it's being presented requiring relief? I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, I get the question. The store is, as Mike said, is a certain style, and this is what has been approved by the board, both the size and by the design review board as to style itself. And this isn't really, as he said, this is not really the prototypical store, but it's the store that we need for this site and for considering the square footage of the store and things of that nature.
It's also, based on the court-approved order, this was the building that was agreed to.
I've got a question on that point. I'm looking at the resolution number 202552. Did that come about, the terms of that resolution, as a result of negotiations during the litigation over this matter?
No, what happened here
I
was...
thought I just heard that by the witness just say that.
No, I'll try to explain. So you may recall, we had submitted a preliminary plan to the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners turned that plan down, basically arguing the use wasn't permitted. We appealed that to Common Pleas Court. We're successful. It was appealed again by the Board of Commissioners and neighbors to Commonwealth Court, and they affirmed Common Pleas Court, and then it was sent to the Supreme Court as well, which denied allowance of appeal. But the court order basically said that the township has to approve the preliminary plan subject to final plan approval. So during the final plan approval process, the township asked us about the fence and the trash enclosure, and we agreed that we would do that.
So the
But it wasn't
resolution
really
is as a
part-
matter, is as a result of a negotiation between you and your clients and the township, is that right?
John, they had to approve this final plan. I mean, I don't know if I have everything, I don't know if I have the court order here, but they had to approve the final plan. During the discussion, neighbors had come to us, and the township came to us and said, would you consider doing this? And we said, yes, we would. So it really wasn't, it wasn't, we're not going to approve the plan unless you agree to this. This was something that Wawa just agreed to do because it was asked.
Okay.
And we didn't feel there was really no hardship on us, to be honest, to put a higher, an 8-foot fence in or to enclose the trash enclosure. But it really wasn't a negotiation over the approval of the final plan, because that had to be approved.
Right. But the terms of the resolution were something that Wawa agreed to. Did I understand you?
We
just told me that?
agreed to number 3, that we would go to the zoning hearing board.
Excuse me, that's not what I'm asking you.
Yeah, we agreed that we would, we agreed to number 3, which was if we got
You
approval.
agreed to numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way
No,
down
no,
the
no,
line, right?
that wasn't part of negotiation. That's just the standard township land development
You're
approval.
bound by what's in here, isn't
Oh,
that
yeah,
right?
I agree.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I'm getting to. I
Oh,
mean,
we're
at one
bound by
point
it.
You're saying you're bound by it, the other point is, well.
No,
you
no,
just-
no,
you just
I think,
tossed that in
I think we
before.
misunderstood, no, we're bound by the final plan resolution. And number 3 provides that we will do this if you approve it. Number 3.
So if we turn down
We don't have to do it. If you
we don't have to
don't,
put a fence in.
correct. We have to put, 6-foot fence. We agreed to put in an 8-foot fence.
And you've also agreed that you'll comply with all applicable township ordinances and county, state, and federal rules and regulations.
Correct.
Ordinance, et cetera.
Yep.
Is that right?
I just have a really quick one. What was the rule, the PNC ATM thing?
Yeah,
What
we
was
would
that?
need, yeah, if you look at the code, it comments on freestanding signs, which sign content. So it would say, a freestanding sign shall contain only the name, address, logo, and/or telephone number of the permitted use. So the ATM, well, I guess it's a permitted use, but it's in addition. So we ask for relief on that, and the board doesn't grant it, they don't grant it.
Thank you.
I want to clarify the court order, which is the court order stating that the use as a gas station had to be allowed, or that the specific structural aspects of the building had to be allowed?
It approved the entire preliminary plan. So it wasn't just the use, it was said this preliminary plan is approved, and that showed the building on the site, plus all the curb cuts and everything else involved in that. And that's what it said, it had to approve the preliminary plan subject to final plan approval. Final plan approval basically deals with stormwater management, lighting, landscaping, things of that nature.
Any other questions by the board? Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Mr. Spiegel, good evening, sir. I'll keep it relatively short. One of the questions you were asked was, why do you need a sign? I think it was sign B. Why does it need to be so high up? You started your answer off qualifying it with, for this model of store. Do you recall testifying that way?
Yes.
How many models of Wawa stores would you say exist or could be in consideration generally?
I couldn't even tell you how many models we have. I mean, it's multiple models. There's older model prototypes that we built 10, 20 years ago. The models that we're building today are different than the models we're going through approvals tomorrow, not just in this market, but other states.
And then how tall is, I'm not talking about the middle part, but generally the flat parts of the building, how tall is that from the ground?
I think the top of the parapet is 23 and a half feet.
Okay. You would agree that humans are generally not taller than 7 feet tall. Is that a fair statement?
It's pretty fair, I think.
Then why, you'd, in theory then, in actuality, you'd be able to reduce the overall height of the building significantly down, maybe even in half, and still be able to fit customers and whatever else needs to go inside the store inside. Is that fair to say?
I don't think it's fair to say, and the reason why is that elevation of that parapet, the roof itself is actually below that. That parapet wall is meant to block the visibility of the HVAC units, refrigeration units that all reside on top of the building. The reason they do that is to try to minimize impact to the surrounding area, sound, noise, etc.
Okay. So you could bring the overall height down of the building, at least somewhat. Is that fair to say?
I think there's other challenges involved with that. It's not just bringing the height of the ceiling just because of the parapet size. There's also HVAC tubing, piping up above the ceiling grid inside the building. There's roof trusses that have to be to support the roof and to support the units that are on the roof. Everything that goes into these buildings, we look at it from a standpoint of what needs to be the height inside the building, and also from a standpoint of going into a building for our customers where there's not any kind of impeding. You also have to make sure that the airflow is proper throughout the area. We have a kitchen area in the back, so that area needs to have a certain flow to, from all the diffusers throughout the ceilings. There's a lot of things that we look into to try to make these stores be not just efficient, but workable.
There are plenty of Wawa stores in existence that are shorter in height than this proposed building, though, right?
Some of our legacy stores, they are, yes. Stores that were built 30, 40 years ago.
Okay. Now, there's the glass kind of on the front door area. I guess that's not really a front door because the doors are on the side, but there's like an arch of glass. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. Correct. Yep, I pointed to it.
That's more for aesthetics and not out of necessity, though, right?
It's aesthetics of any frontage. You want to have light coming into the store. You want to be able to be an inviting look for our customers.
But if that little rounded area of glass and windows were eliminated, then the Wawa sign right above it could be brought down a couple of feet, right?
I would have to look more into that since from as far as I know, the stores I've been involved with, we've never done that.
Okay. Now, would you agree that the first thing that's going to catch a passing motorist's attention or grab their attention, indicate that there's a Wawa there, would be something more so that's lower to the ground or at street level as opposed to something that's high up? Do you agree with that?
It depends how far away they're traveling and what may be impeding their visibility.
Okay. Generally, though, when people are driving, they're not going to be looking up in the air. They're going to be looking more so street level, road level, right?
To some point.
Okay. Now, Wawa's pretty popular in the eastern United States, isn't it?
I would like to hope so.
I would agree with myself that it is pretty popular. But it's when a big or any really new Wawa is being built, would you agree that it's pretty newsworthy around that area? It gets people talking that, hey, there's going to be a new Wawa down the street. Isn't that cool?
We do get attention when we have our store openings or in predecessing to the store openings, yes.
There's going to be a social media presence announcing incoming Wawa opening date X, right?
Yeah, our marketing team puts out a plethora of items to the local press and residents and townships and so on and so forth.
And you'll be online, like if somebody's on Google Maps and they want to see where's the nearest Wawa, they type in Wawa, this will pop up on their map, right?
Once the store is open, it should pop up, yes.
Okay, so there's not really going to be any difficulty with awareness of this new store such that signs would be necessary, fair to say?
I still think that the signs, even though they might see on a Google map, not that Google map is 100% accurate, sometimes things are amiss. I think the signage, though, for any business is a typical part. I rarely see any businesses without any kind of signage.
That's all I have, thank you.
Did those questions provoke any questions from the panel? No? Okay. Public comment?
John, can I just, I'm sorry, okay.
I was going to ask for a vote, but or ask you
No.
if you're going to move your,
Sure, please, I would
your
like-
exhibits in.
And also, I just went back in the file, and I did find the Commonwealth Court order and the remand back to the Radnor Township. Commonwealth Court order said basically, as I mentioned, that preliminary plan is approved, subject to final plan approval, and that any waivers granted in the preliminary plan follow through. And so
Can I see what you
basically,
have in
just
front of you,
like that.
please?
Pardon?
May I see what you're referring to? paragraph 5 is, of the order from Judge Dozer is interesting, and I'm going to read it into the record. The township shall not consider any provisions of the zoning ordinance or the design standards of the Saldo in its approval process to the extent that they have been addressed and approved by the Commonwealth Court in the preliminary plan. Okay. Do you want to move those in as?
Yes, please. Yeah, I think that would be what, A17?
17? Not 17.
That's 17 I marked as Judge Dozer's order,
Yes, and then this order is,
and the order from the Commonwealth Court, or the opinion, it's actually just the order. Yeah. It's the order in the conclusion.
okay.
I don't know if you want to read a
We'll make
25-page
as
opinion.
A8.
Yeah. I was going to go over each, just request the exhibits be made part of the record, then I'll go
Okay,
over.
so ordered. And are you moving, have you moved your exhibits in, all of them?
Yeah, A1 through A18, please.
Okay, without objection.
Nick, I made a few notes
Sure.
for purposes of,
Yeah,
you want me to
wanna-
see if I've got it right?
okay.
Or do you prefer to do it?
No,
Okay, let's see if
We're-
I've got it right,
okay.
and we'll fill in the blanks.
Sure.
So first, and I'm going to refer to the sign letters based on A8.
Okay, this is a motion?
No, I just want to make
Yeah,
sure,
sure.
let's clarify the relief, and then
Got it.
we'll move. So for sign A, which is the, I don't want to characterize it as anything. Sign A is,
a monument sign, freestanding sign, yeah.
you need a relief for size of roughly 5 square feet. You need a relief for content.
Correct.
Okay. For
And
sign,
the size is based on the coping, which
yeah,
I argue that's not included in sign area if you look at the definition, but
understood. Okay. Sign B is for height only.
correct.
Okay. Signs B and C, depending on how the board looks at it, you may need a relief for the total square footage of the signs.
Correct.
Okay. Sign F, I'm still a little confused on, but sign F, as instructional signs, you need relief for height.
That would be sign F, yes, correct.
Sign F?
F, that's the one with the pump numbers on it.
And those are considered instructional signs?
Instructional sign, if you look at it as retail. If you
Okay.
look at it as a gas, it's exempt.
It's exempt. Okay, got it. You need relief for pump height because of the sign, because of the banner
goose.
across the top.
The goose on the top.
Okay.
And, well, I'm sorry, the numbers for F, yes. For the numbers on height, let me make sure I have this right. On
Well, there's
sign
also,
F,
you also have a note that says total square feet for all ground signs on site.
Yeah, that's the one, the gas pumps. Because Mr. Kachansky said that you got to consider that as a ground sign, and since we're already at 50, and we would be over for the pump signs. Now, again, remember, under the gasoline portion of the ordinance, it says they are exempt.
Yeah, okay.
And then on F, we are okay on the area, because the area for instructional signs is 30 square feet, but the height is supposed to only be 6 feet. So it would be height.
Yeah, okay. So height for the numeric pump numbers.
Correct.
Height on the pump sign, I'm going to call it the pump sign, but the goose at the
The
top of
goose.
the pump.
And to clarify, the pump signs are sign E, correct, as in Edward?
No,
No?
no, E was
Yeah,
on
they
the
are, yeah.
canopy.
No, yeah, but A also includes the pump, if you look at the bottom. Yeah,
I'm sorry, which one included the pump?
A.
Yeah, that's right. That's exhibit 8, sorry, A8E. I think you were referring
To
to
the
sign
sign,
E.
the letter the letter reference for those signs.
Right. E.
E is in Edward, right?
E is in, for the gas pumps, the pumps
Right,
themselves. yeah.
Right, for the pumps.
E as the, not the exhibit number, but the sign number
Sign
would be E.
Oh, I understood E was removed because that was the lettering across the banner of the canopy.
Yeah, E, I know. E includes both, if you look at it, the spanner here was removed.
Okay.
And so it would be, the pumps are here and they measure them. And the fact is that, as I said, the determination was that this is considered a ground sign.
Yeah.
All right, so it'd be sign area, and that goose is higher than the requirement.
Right.
And
So
then-
it's pump height, I'm going to say pump height, but it's the
Pump height,
the
yeah.
height of that sign at
Yeah,
the
the
top
hu-
of the
yeah,
pump. And
exactly.
the total square footage as ground signs for all of the signs that are on
Correct.
the dispensers
Correct.
themselves. Okay. And then fence height and
Right.
trash enclosure height.
Correct.
Okay.
Just one more, clarify freestanding sign pump island, sign E, is it still in the?
It is sign E, correct.
That's what we were just talking
Yeah.
about, John.
The sign, because on the bottom there, that's where the gas pumps are.
There.
And then,
out, but they're
and the total square footage.
Yes, those things right there. Okay, got it.
You know, the total square footage is small, it's just that, again, if you're at the max, then
Okay. Are we ready for a motion?
Yeah. Have a motion, please?
I'm going to ask Nick, do you want me to start with the most difficult one?
sure. But, yeah, I think, Rich, you know, it's better, yeah, just
Yeah.
go down, or unless you want to follow my chart, it's up to you.
I think we should. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start then. I'll make a motion to grant the variance to permit sign B in accordance with the plans and testimony presented.
Second.
B. B as in boy. Sorry. Yep.
Okay, I've seconded the motion.
So this is the height sign? Yes. I just feel like we lack a good explanation of how this is actually a burden. That's kind of the thing that's making me struggle here. Zach, I think, brings up a good point. It's a self-created burden. So that's, and the explanation of the ductwork and the I-beam, I mean, I would rather have had an architect explain that to me just to really seal the absolute necessity of it. So that, for me, is a big issue.
I agree with regards to the question of whether it was kind of like a self-imposed hardship or not. I mean, the question for me is, with the court order, if the structure of the building is kind of assumed as given, whether or not it's kind of the minimum relief, assuming the structure of the building can't be changed. I guess that's kind of my question.
I don't know that I qualified to answer it, but I'm going to say that my understanding of what came down from the courts and back to us and back to the township was that the site plan itself was approved. I don't know that the court was looking at these same elevations and proposed buildings that we are.
That's
but-
why I wanted to read that and did read it into the record, is that the township was required to approve the site plan, and it specifically, there's a specific carve-out on the zoning, because I think one of the courts during the appeal, the litigation process, overstepped its bounds of authority and became a zoning hearing board temporarily, and then when it went up, I guess, to the Superior Court, they backed off of that specifically, and it's in the resolution that A5, which is before us, that the zoning hearing board is to decide these things, and it now becomes a traditional seeking of relief from certain requirements of the zoning of the zoning ordinance here in Radnor, and that's where we are. So yes, I think that we have to look at this in a fresh light, uninfluenced by the fact of how it got here, but it did get here.
So I'm a little disappointed there was no public comment, but that's okay. And to was your last name Spiegel? To Mr. Spiegel's point, I actually would have expected nothing less than a customized building in our township and a customized set of plans and signs and you know, I'm a bit frustrated. I feel like that there was, I'll acknowledge some effort you reduced from what you would normally look for, but it doesn't feel like a lot of effort went into dealing with this 21-foot high sign, given the neighborhood that it sits in, given the characteristics of our township, given the characteristics of this specific piece of property, sits across from a church. Those parishioners are going to come in and stare at that giant billboard of a sign that you guys have projecting 22 feet above the ground. So I agree. I thought the question about, you know, the internal structure of that tower, I'm not an engineer, I'm a lawyer, but to flip-flop some of those mechanical aspects, that doesn't sound all that difficult to me. It sounds like a couple pieces of paper and a couple extra feet of aluminum, and you've satisfied our code. You've reduced the amount of requests, the amount of relief that you need. So I started with this sign because, quite frankly, everything else is pretty, I don't really have any objection to anything else that you're looking for. I'm really worried about granting relief on the height of this sign, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more effort. So unfortunately, if we're starting here, I'm going to be voting against the relief for the height of this sign.
So I'll just, yeah, regarding the height of the sign and basically it's a matter of the securing and bracketing, and I know some brilliant engineers that are involved, and ultimately I feel that it's not out of that scope to determine a way to bracket a sign accordingly. I mean, you maybe don't have to reorganize the mechanicals inside, but determining another way and being creative in that sense. And I do feel that it was lacking in terms of explanation, especially given the height of the sign, the church across the street, and just the characteristics of the neighborhood.
As I sat and listened to the testimony, I kept thinking back to myself that I just don't see where there is a hardship of the variety that justifies zoning relief. And so I am not in favor of approving this particular motion.
Yeah, I'm with Rich. This is the only one that I have issue with. That and the PNC thing I don't like either, but for those reasons, I don't think I would support the sign height.
Yeah, it's a substantially bigger jump than all of the other variances required.
I'll call the vote. Zach?
Nay.
Nay.
Nay?
No.
Nay.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, so I'd make a motion to grant the variance for sign A. I'm going to combine them both as to size and to content in accord with the plans and testimony before us.
I'll second the motion.
So on this one, the content, I don't really, I didn't read the ordinance section, but the content of advertising an ATM is no big deal in my opinion in terms of variance relief. And I guess the idea that we're going to, one of the witnesses used the word penalize. I don't think it was in this context, but I'm going to use it to penalize the applicant for a better looking sign, a more appropriate cap on the top of it as opposed to just a flat piece of aluminum, pushes them over about 5 square feet. It's not quite de minimis because it's 10%, but I'm inclined to go in that direction and grant and approve that request.
Yeah, I agree that I think Wawa is a distinctive company and has certain standards that they wish to adhere to, and I don't think they should be penalized. I think it's almost de minimis, to tell you the truth, so I would be in favor.
I feel the same.
I don't like that PNC sign. I think everyone already knows Wawa's got ATMs. I don't think that's something you need to put. It's against what was described as the rules for the sign, so I'm not for that.
Let me call the vote.
Aye.
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 Nay.
Aye.
Okay, so that carries.
Okay. I'm going to, the next motion I'll make is to grant a variance with respect to the total square footage of signs B and C. Does that, Gus, does that make sense? Yeah, I get, that's true, because it's only height, right, so size, yeah, okay. So I think in an abundance of caution, I think there is a colorable argument that they're entitled to 50 square feet on each frontage, if my math was correct. But in an abundance of caution, I'll move to grant the variance for the total square footage of the B and C signs combined, boy and cat.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I think I just said it in my motion. I shouldn't have. I spoke too out of turn. I think the argument is a good argument that the code is a little vague on whether or not it's a total of 50 feet on each side of frontage, and I think the reading of that is to the benefit of the landowner and the applicant. So therefore, probably a variance isn't needed, but in order to get where we're going, I think it's safer to grant the variance. So I'll be voting in favor of that.
Any other comment? I'll call the vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, I'd like to make a motion to grant the variance with respect to signs F, as in Frank, for height in accord with the plans and testimony tonight.
Second.
I kind of look at it more as the instructional sign, so I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I thought Mr. Spiegel, sorry, made what came out of that testimony on that is the safety concerns, that you get a Sprinter van that pulls in to fill up, and God forbid something's happening and a clerk can't see out and identify what pump number. So to me, that's a bit of a no-brainer on the height.
I'll agree with what you said there, Rich, especially if they are serving diesel as well. You do have some taller vehicles coming in as well, so I think that's completely reasonable and practical in manner.
Any other comment? I'll call the vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, I'll make a motion to grant the variance. I think we decided it's still considered sign F, but it has to do with the height of the goose across the top of the dispensers. I'll make it as I'll keep it separate. So to grant the variance for the pump height in accord with the testimony and plans.
Second.
So my only thought on that one, I'm sorry, I'm like hogging everybody's time tonight. Those dispensers are installed on an island, which adds some height to it, and the island is an important safety feature, of course. So again, it sort of fits in with the safety concerns of the site.
Yeah, totally agree, Rich. I think the island's enough of a buffer to consider.
Yeah, and it seems so, it's almost de minimis, in my view, just a little bit that's up there. I don't have a problem with it. Any other comment? Okay, let's call the vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, I'll make a motion to grant the variance for the total square footage of the ground signs. And again, in the course of conversation, I'll refer to those as the signs that are part of the dispensers themselves. I think they fit into the F category, but they're the signs themselves on the dispensers in accord with the plans and testimony presented.
Second.
I don't think anyone's going to forget they're at a Wawa when pumping up the Wawa. I get the brain continuity idea. I don't think that's a concern, but it's every gas station has it, so I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, it's the same way across the street.
All right. Call the vote.
Aye.
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 I may as well be consistent. All right, so I'd like to make a motion to grant the relief requested for the variance for both the height of the fence along the south property line as well as the masonry enclosure around the trash bins in accord with the testimony and plans presented.
Second. To me, this is the only no-brainer.
Yeah, I combined the fence height and the brick enclosure.
Okay.
Yeah, all in one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's sort of a livability issue for me,
Yeah.
and if anything, that does take into account the neighbors to the rear,
Correct.
and of course,
Okay, so that doesn't change the motion. Everybody understands the motion. We're approving the height of the fence and the trash enclosure.
Right.
Okay. Any comment?
It seems like the kindness of Wawa. I think there's no point to say no to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Call the vote.
I would say this is just a screening matter. So given that, and it's protecting the neighbors and the view, I'm in favor. Aye.
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 I think we're done. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time and thoughtfulness. That was, you cut to the chase there.
Yeah, I gotta talk to my engineers about it. Thank you, appreciate it.